Welcome back to the In Pursuit of Magic podcast, where we explore the things that inspire us, connect us, and the magic we find along the way. I am your guest host, Aida, aka Matt's bestie. And today we have an amazing guest. Honestly, I think maybe one of the best this show has ever had, but don't tell anyone. He is a remarkable artist. He is a wonderful podcast host. He is the greatest dad in the world to his little baby girl. He's a wonderful husband and best friend and just human out in the world, and the kind of human that makes you believe in goodness in people again and people just being there for you. And that's who this person is. And that, my friend, should be at the top of any resume. And that is the most important thing you need to know about this person, because who they are speaks for themselves. So it is my pleasure and my honor to introduce my best friend, Matthew Medina.
Thank you. Thank you. What an incredible intro. It's so funny being on the other end of this.
I'm so
Now I
excited.
know what everyone goes through when I give them these intros, but thank you.
Exactly.
I'm very excited
Exactly.
because this is the 50th episode, which I cannot believe it's 50 episodes. So it's funny, you and me had a similar idea about doing this when I brought it up to you. And what better time to do it than for the 50th episode?
I think it's great. And I think it'll be a really wonderful opportunity to highlight you and why you're doing this and why it brings you so much joy and where it all comes from and all these good, amazing things that have made you the person that you are today. So I've got questions. We've got guest questions. So let's just jump right into this.
All
Okay.
right.
And I think the most important one, I think the heaviest one probably. So I'm going to throw it out there as this is what we're going to circle back to kind of question. So the question is, why? Why a podcast? Why in the pursuit of magic? Why? So that is just sit with that. And at the very, very end, that'll be how we close this out. And then I want to hear that reasoning. Why? In the purest and most honest form and way. So that being said, I've got loads of questions for you. So are you
I'm
ready?
excited.
Okay, good. So I'm going to start off with some guest questions. Are you
Okay.
ready? So you had
Yes.
previous guests and they all had questions they wanted to ask you, but taking up too much time. So I'm giving them just a little bit of time. Okay. So here we go. What was the scariest or the hardest part about starting your podcast?
I think my own lack of confidence and fear of whether I was able to do this on my own and if anyone would care. And that was my own self kind of standing in my way for a very long time, to the point where this podcast started originally as a rewatch podcast for one of my favorite shows. And I was going to be doing it with an actor from the show. And I was excited, but it was also a more comfortable space for me because I still got to kind of be in the back. And there was someone who was more well known and a name and could take the lead. And they got busier and couldn't keep doing that. And so I had to kind of make a choice whether to not do anything or to kind of reinvent what the point of the podcast was and where my heart was with it and do it by myself. And that was hard. It took me a long time to have the courage to move forward with it. And I think it came down to me knowing I was going to be a dad and me wanting my future daughter to pursue whatever dreams she had and not be afraid to chase after it, no matter how afraid she was. And I couldn't do that without doing that for myself. And so that was the push I needed to take a chance. And it was really hard. And I think scary because I'm not someone who has connections in the industry. I'm not someone with a million followers or very well known. And so who am I to be doing this and asking people to say yes to being on? And it took a lot of me putting myself out there and socializing and me being the most vulnerable, raw version of myself when talking to people and telling them what I was trying to do, which again was hard. In some ways, it feels easy for me to be vulnerable with people that I admire and trust in a certain way. And in other ways, it's terrifying and you never know what's going to happen. But I've been very grateful for especially those first 5 guests that did not have a proof of concept, but said yes and trusted me. And without that start, I would not be at episode 50. So that was definitely the hardest, scariest part, I think, overcoming my own blocks in my own road and kind of learning to understand myself more, I think.
I think there's a couple of moments in there that I was like, Matt, where you were like, talking about standing in your own way and that obstacle, and then planning the podcast with someone else so that they would kind of take the lead. You know what I mean? And I find that so interesting because you're such well, to me, what I've seen in our entire friendship, you are such a strong leader and you don't need anyone's approval from what I've seen because you've gone through it all on your own, despite all the odds, despite everything pushing you down, everything giving you a reason to just be like, just don't do it, like it's your motivation. And I think thinking about when you were becoming a dad, I think that definitely lights a fire. But I think it was just the excuse that you needed because it was all there. It was all building up. Things don't happen overnight. Success doesn't happen overnight. Creativity is something that grows and continues to grow. And you have had it through a variety of mediums, whether it's through the art of physical pen and paper, whether it's through animation, which you are phenomenal at. You went to FIT, you earned your right, you earned your place, you did the hard work, you had the drive and the determination for it. And honestly, like that's the New York in you. That's that's the person who took the train to school every day. That's the person who went to college in the city. That's the person who, commuted at night and took the bus and lived in Queens, like went to school in Manhattan. You know what I mean? Like it's the nitty gritty in you that was just waiting to come out and needed all the other stepping stones to get you to exactly where you are right now in your purest, most confident form, I feel like.
Yeah, it's funny you say that too, because I read somewhere or heard recently about people who find the most peace in having different areas of their life where they can kind of light up different parts of themselves. And they said it's almost like an alter ego. And
Mhm,
that's really what I feel like whenever I record an episode, because not only do I feel more confident and more purely me in my skin, but most of my guests are meeting me for the first time and they're calling me Matthew, which not many people call me. And so it feels like a different person, which is kind of cool.
yeah, but you know what? I think that's normal for, I feel like everybody has a work persona, has a work vibe, and
Yeah.
then you have your home persona and your home vibe. And I think that both bring out the best and worst in all of us, really. But jumping back to what I said a little bit and how far you come, and based off everything in the first question of what you were afraid of to, start this, looking back to the most vulnerable version of you in the past, when you think back to a specific time or a specific age, maybe, what would that version of you think of this version of you now?
I think he'd be proud. I think he'd also be very surprised by all of the twists and turns that
Mhm.
got me here and a lot of the surprises and blessings that have happened and continue to happen. I still have those moments where I pinch myself and have to stop and really just appreciate what's happening because I couldn't have dreamed of, I want to say I couldn't have dreamed of some of these moments, but the truth is I daydream all the time. And so I have dreamed of a lot of these moments. Did I fully believe that they'd actually happen? Not necessarily. But I also remember when the original version of this podcast was starting and the person I was doing it with was giving advice and they said, make a dream list of guests. Sky's the limit. Anyone you want. Don't think like I wouldn't be able to get them. Just make a list, whether it's in your head or on paper, and make it a point and a goal to get there. And the amount of people have been able to cross up that list is unbelievable to me. And it's not even been a full year yet. And so I think the younger version of me at its most vulnerable would not only be proud, but surprised that it was that vulnerability that helped a lot of these moments happen.
Mhm.
Because I think if I had changed or had my guard up and wasn't that vulnerable part of me, I would not have been able to connect with people on a human level and made a lot of this happen.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think having the ability to reflect on yourself, I think is so important. And I think it shows the amount of growth you have because you're just like so confidently saying, like, yeah, I would be proud of who I am and where I've come from. And yeah, I would be shocked. But that's life. That just, you've lived and you're continuing to live such a wonderful life, and it's only going to keep growing and keep getting better. And like I said, it was your determination to have your 50th episode, and it hasn't even been a year, you know? And that dream list and the people you've had on it, it's all comes from you and your love, and I'm so incredibly happy that you are appreciated by these people and trusted by them, because it shows that they see what part of what I have always seen in you, and what the closest people in your life have always seen in you, and what your daughter sees in you. And I think it's time, it's always time for people to get their roses, and it's I think now is your time to feel that appreciation. And all your guests who sent me all these questions too, like, just goes to show like how involved they felt and comfortable they felt with what you created for yourself and for them. So kudos, my friend. Kudos.
Well, it makes me really happy too, because partly to answer the first question about the why, a big part of me wanted to create a space that inspired others and made them feel a little less alone, because I've always been inspired and felt less alone by the stories that I take in, whether it's movies, shows, books, music, and the people who create them and are part of them. And so if I could create a space to kind of give that back, and then in turn, I've learned also creating a space for the people who are part of those things that I love so I can spotlight them
Mhm.
and kind of as a way say thank you to them. It's the greatest gift, I think, to keep that going and to give back what I feel has sustained me and filled me with a lot of love.
That's beautiful. That's wonderful. I mean, what you've created. All right, back to our fun list of questions. And this one's actually a good one because I'd love to hear this. What's the funniest thing that's happened to you during one of your podcasts?
Funniest thing. There's been a couple of episodes that were really funny. And I think Didi Romero was a really funny episode. Ruby Modine was another very funny episode. And I think with Ruby, it was especially funny because we were having technical difficulties and had to switch to Zoom. And then we were like disconnecting and we ran out of time and we had to go back on. And what was partly funny, but also very touching, is that I'm a fairly anxious person.
Mhm.
And when I'm having technical difficulties, I won't let it show that I'm worried or anxious, but I will be flipping out about making a bad impression, about the other person needing to leave. Their time is precious. And the whole way she was messaging me saying, "Don't worry, I'm still here. Don't worry, I'm still here. I'm not going anywhere." And every time I read that, I would laugh and it would make me smile and I would be able to just get back into it. And we would pick up like nothing. I mean, she made a joke about it being like the robot chicken, like change between channels. And it worked. And I think that was not only really funny for me, but it was just great to be understood in a certain way that reassured me when I was freaking out, when normally I'm trying to make sure the other person feels comfortable.
That's good. That's good. It's also wonderful for people to be able to see how you are under pressure.
Oh
And it
yeah.
goes to show like the professionalism of this, because it's like there's like a deadline, there's technical difficulties. It's so easy for someone to be like, forget it, click and like move on
Yeah.
and like, not be able to do it. And they stuck it out with you, man.
Yeah. And I will say I get nervous before every episode. If it's someone I already kind of know, that's nerve wracking because I want to do well by them.
Hmm.
And if it's someone I'm technically meeting for the first time, even though we've like messaged, I really want to make a good impression. And like I don't know them that well. Like I want to make sure that it's a good episode and they feel respected and seen and understood and I have all my information correct. And that's always nerve wracking. And each and every time it works out beautifully and it's the most incredible experience. And I'm so blessed that that's been the case. But every time I get nervous until I sign on and I start saying hello.
I'm sure. Who's number one on your list?
That I haven't interviewed.
Yeah. Well, who was number one, and did you interview them?
I don't know if I have like a number one, at least not living. I think I have just a long list of different people, and I'm just happy when I get to chat with one of them. But I'm trying to think of like big ones that I would really love. And well, I'm a big fan of Smallville. I think anyone from that cast would be a dream come true just because it was
Anyone from that cast?
well, most people, most people from that cast.
I recently thought of Smallville, actually. I was like, wow, I was so into it. Feels like
Yeah.
such a long time ago. And it was.
And yeah, I mean, that show really helped, I guess, create part of my moral compass and the person I wanted to be. So I think most of that main cast would be incredible. I think a lot of the main Superman cast are big on my list now.
Which
I think
Superman?
the current one, David Cornsweet.
Uh,
Yeah.
Could we go
And
we also add Henry Cavill because
well, then you
that's
would have to be
like
on.
that's what I'm gonna say. So I would just need to clear my schedule. So just let me know. Just bump him to number 2 and just let me know and I'll help try to track him down too.
I'll make a note because he'll be doing the Highlander remake. So, he
Okay.
may be doing interviews.
I'm here.
But definitely Millie Alcock, who's playing Supergirl now, which I'm very excited
Love
to see,
her. Love
and
her.
and House of the Dragon.
Love her.
And I
She's
would
so
love to
good.
chat with her, even just to share the fact that my daughter has her character's namesake and how awesome that is and how fun it is that her debut was like a month before my daughter was born. And how fun that is to now see Supergirl and her name all over the place. I see merchandise that says Kara on it, and I get so excited. So, yeah, those are definitely on my list. I think someone who's not alive would be Walt Disney
Okay.
because he was a creative mind, but not the business guy. That was his brother. And so I can relate to that where I have ideas and I'm more creative, wouldn't know how to start things in a business side of things. And so I would love to pick his brain, but also I think I'm just very, very curious about showing him some of the movies that came after him, the whole Disney
Mhm,
Renaissance, Beauty and the Beast,
mhm.
Aladdin, Lion King, and wanting to know his reaction and the
Yeah.
technology advancement and all that stuff.
Can you
So
imagine? Mind blown,
blown
for
away.
sure, for
My
sure.
God. Or he
Or
may
the
hate some of them.
opposite. Or or the opposite. What if he's gonna be like, "That's it? I
Yeah.
imagine by now you'd be living
Yeah.
like Jetsons."
Well, I think I'm curious then about like Pixar and 3D animation. So it's a whole other. But yeah, I think those are some of my top people, and there's a very long list. I'm sure there's like a ton of other people I'm forgetting, but yeah.
Okay. And now do any of those if you had to put so this is the question. If you had to put any of those 3 in one episode with you,
Oof.
dead or alive, who would they be?
Okay,
Like
so
Christopher Reeves, Henry Cavill,
oh,
and the new
man,
Superman. You know what I mean? Like I feel like Christopher Reeves is
I know I kind of want to talk to him too. That's the thing.
I
Especially
feel
because he respected the role so well and
right.
really believed how important it was. Man, he's
Tough.
got to be up there. If we're talking like artists and entertainers, it's Christopher Reeve, Walt Disney, and maybe George Lucas.
I like it. I like
If
it. I like
I
it.
were to remove one of them and just
Mhm.
put anyone else, it would be my grandfather.
Mm.
And that's because for anyone who doesn't know, I grew up with my grandfather in the same household my whole life. He really was a big part in raising me and making me who I am. And he passed in 2015 from cancer. And so he's missed out on my wedding and the birth of my daughter and this chapter of my life. So I think I would just love to maybe not share because I feel like where he is, he's witnessing all of it, but get his advice and his input on this chapter of life because he's been able to do that for all the other chapters of my life. And I feel like this is a whole new phase and role for me that I have so many questions and would love to hear his experience and input in helping raise me.
Yeah. Well, I feel like he would be in awe. I feel like he would be sitting back with some popcorn, just like watching it all unfold and just being like, I knew this was where you were going to be. I knew that you were going to be, just bringing your thoughts to life and your dreams come true. So he would be very proud. He is very proud. Wow. I don't know much about musical theater. However, I can follow along. What is your musical theater controversial opinion? A hot take.
Okay. I don't have a problem with IPs/movies, shows being turned into musicals on Broadway.
Okay.
So I don't know if that's a complete hot take, but I feel like people debate about that a lot. I do think not everything should be turned into a musical,
Mhm.
and vice versa. Not everything that's a musical should be turned into a movie or some other form. And I also think that, my personal opinion, there are some very classic old musicals that deserve all the awards that they have and the official seals and everything, and is a basis for a lot of the new stuff that comes. However, I don't necessarily think it's fair to compare their comebacks in modern day when they're done again to new content. I feel like it doesn't give new shows and original content a fair shake.
Mhm.
And when stunt casting happens in the classic shows, there is a space for that. I think that there is an importance in it and a significance in it. It's almost like doing Shakespeare. However, it should not take away from new ideas and original stuff. And I feel like that happens way too often. And we
Mhm.
need a lot more voices in musical theater from different backgrounds and different belief systems.
Correct.
And those spaces need to be made.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. I feel like it's similar in the movie world with the remakes
Yeah.
and things. It's like sometimes it's like it's fine the way it is.
Yeah.
As is, you know. Some of it, it's like yes, it needed these updates. It needed, a spin on a couple of things, but like why? It's not
Yeah.
necessary. And I'm
Just
watching it now.
let it die.
Because I'm like, some things are just unnecessary. Just don't fix what's not broken.
Yeah.
I feel like people love to do that. People love to
Constantly.
do that. It doesn't matter
They
where
think
you
it's easy. They think it's just an easy, like, oh, well, we'll just do this again. People liked it.
No, it's not. It's not easy. It's harder because, like you said, it's being compared to, and then if it's not done right,
Mm.
meh. All right, question. Now we're moving on to personal. I have one more guest question, but I'm going to
Okay.
save that one because that's a guest we both know that hasn't been on your show. So a non-guest, but a guest in your life. All right. What is a piece of magic you experienced recently that you didn't tell anyone about because you thought it was too small, too silly? I felt like this was perfectly sculpted for you, this question.
Yeah. I'm trying to think not because there isn't any, because there's probably too many. I feel like a lot of them involve my daughter and her getting excited over things that I love, whether it's seeing something Superman related on screen or loving the Disney fireworks. I have a life-size Stitch now. And this girl will not wave to anybody, at least for the most part, but she will just look up at Stitch on the shelf and she'll wave at him. And that to me is the most hilarious thing and feels magical because it's magical for her and real for her. And I think for myself, I think partly it's the little moments. I think it's looking back on some of these episodes or hearing from some of my guests and getting yeses or getting feedback with some beautiful comments of their experience that really feel magical to me because it's not something I expected. Like I made the space to do that for them. And so to get that back has been very magical, I think. And so those moments, I think, really have continuously kind of fed my soul in a way where I'm still stunned. And one thing I'll talk about with any creative space, but I think especially what I've experienced with the podcast, it's usually famine or feast. And the first couple months I was doing this, there could be a couple weeks where I'm really trying hard to schedule people. And I know I'm going to have a week or two without anyone.
Mm,
And that was tough. And it would sometimes be disheartening to get no's or no responses. And usually no's never from an individual, always from someone's team
mhm.
that wouldn't even ask them. They were just like, oh, they're busy or we're going to pass on their behalf. And that's tough to hear over and over and over again because I put out my net pretty wide, I will say. And to get past that and then to now be in a place the past couple months where I am overbooked is a nice problem to have. You know, I was looking at my schedule for June and it was like at least 8 guests. And I was like, oh, okay, how am I going to do this? Well, I'm going to make it work. But I'm kind of set for a little bit. And like maybe I need to slow down with reaching out to people. So that's been magical for me, I think, because I'm doing something that I love and it's moving faster now than I imagined it would. And it has nothing to do with the number of followers or subscribers or whatever numbers I'm making. It has to do with, am I enjoying this? And one of my guests recently said, define success before you get there. And for me, this is success.
Yeah. Yeah. The definition of it, you're overbooked. You're being super successful at, reaching out to these people, getting people to respond and successfully booking them, especially like you mentioned, like people that have never met you before. They're all trusting you
Yeah,
and believe in what you're saying. So I think that's really wonderful. It says a lot about you as a person, as a entrepreneur, as, someone who just wants to really push themselves and put themselves out there, which is terrifying to do. This is
it is.
terrifying to do.
It is.
Like, I'm looking at my hair, I'm looking at my face, I'm like my voice. I'm like, what did I say? You know what I mean? And it's like, thank God for editing, right? You know what I mean? So I think it's you're doing it. You're doing it, man. It's a big deal. Episode 50. I'll see you again at episode
Yeah.
100.
Oh, yeah.
Maybe you're Henry Cavill. You never know. You know what I mean?
Things
You
happen, you know?
you throw it out there. And like recently, I was just telling someone at work because we were talking about a gift, and they were like, "Oh, I'll never get this." Da, da, da. And then they got it, and they were like, "Ah," and I was like, "You would have never got it if you didn't just." Shoot it out there, throw it out there so people
Yeah.
heard it or whatever, caught on. And I think that goes along with a lot of stuff in life. Like if you just sit back, you can't just wait for things to happen. I mean, sometimes it works out that way, but not really. Like you kind of have to put yourself out there, send that email, make that phone call, leave the house. I feel like everything requires work, especially success. Because I feel like what is success if you didn't have to fight for it or you didn't have to work for it? Then is it
Yeah.
success? Is
And
it success if
persistence.
you didn't have to, if it wasn't something to good? You know what I mean? Like if it was
Yeah.
already given to you, you didn't succeed at it, you kind of just got it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and I think that's one of the lessons I had to learn, especially with being persistent, because there's definitely times I've been told they can't right now, but in the future or when they're promoting this or when they're doing that. Uh,
Mhm.
and so having to keep that in mind and not take it as a rejection, but as a let me try again later, and then going and doing it again later has worked out time and time again. And there was one person's representation that actually told me how much they appreciate me and my interest and my passion in wanting to make this happen and wanting to make it happen too. And that's great to hear, I think. But it also shows it's something I had to learn and grow with because I had to get past not wanting to be a bother
Mhm.
and
Mhm.
not to take things personally, even when they feel personal, and to just keep going.
Yeah, for sure. When was the last time, how people say imposter syndrome? When was the last time you
Mm,
feel like you were an imposter? And like, what
mm.
did you do to like kind of help you through that? Because I have several moments that I could think of
Yeah,
personally,
I have
especially
them
parent,
constantly.
especially being a parent. You're like, I don't belong here. Who, who
Like,
gave
who
me
is this?
a child? What?
It definitely happens a lot as a parent, I will say that, and I think that's just because parenthood humbles you, and you're constantly learning, and when you think you know, there's something new to learn. And I think with the podcast, it also happens all the time, and it's kind of a constant reminder to myself where I was once given the advice that or maybe not advice is the right word, but the observation and the compliment that I deserve to be among the people that I admire. And the amount of times I've had to kind of remind myself of that internally, kind of as a mantra, has gotten me through a lot of those imposter syndrome moments and feeling as if I deserve to take up space and I belong in the room
Mhm.
and I have something to say
Mhm.
and that it's coming from a place of sincerity and heart is just it's something I constantly have to tell myself to get through it and to fight that imposter syndrome because it comes strong and
Mhm.
I think it, like we said, can be one of those roadblocks.
Yeah, for sure. And sometimes it gets so easy to be stuck in that. And it
Yeah.
kind of just like festers and just like affects you in all aspects of your life. So I think when you said that, remembering your mantra and having one, I think is super important because I feel like I have moments too where it's like if I don't cling to an affirmation and if I don't sit there and just remind myself of, who I am and the value that I bring and I'm a prize and
Yeah.
reminding yourself you are a prize. And it's like so easy for you to lift me up, right? It's so easy for you to lift your wife and your daughter and to be there and to support them and to be like, you're crazy for not seeing yourselves in the light that I see. But then when it's reverse, it's always harder to see it in ourselves. And I think that you and
Yeah.
I connected over that a a lot
Yeah.
in the beginning of our friendship because, everybody has demons, especially in college. I mean, college is where it
Yeah.
all just, I feel like, kind of hits you and you're kind of thrown out there to like figure things out on your own. And if you're lucky, you bump into people that you have class with on the train platform and you develop a friendship and you're friends forever. And 20 years later, you're here doing a podcast. You know what I mean? Like life is funny the way it works out. And I'm a firm believer in everything that's meant to be will be, and that everything happens for a reason, everything. And you have been through a lot. And throughout the way, it's so easy to lose sight of the magic that is life, the beauty that it holds. And it's so easy to just hyper focus on what's not working and what doesn't look right and what doesn't feel right. And it's important to
Totally.
take a moment, smell the roses, give yourself your flowers, receive them from others, and be like, we did it. I did it. I'm doing it. And I'm not stopping. It's not over. You're still going. You're still evolving as a person. You're evolving as a podcaster. I mean, I'm getting better and better as like a co-host. You know what I mean? Like everything matters, every experience, even the mundane ones. I think
Yeah.
it all makes who we are. And we wouldn't be who we are if we didn't go
Yeah,
through.
and I think what you said about like stopping to smell the roses is important because that's another lesson I've learned too when I'm having those days or those moments. It's like, you know what? I need a break for a day or two. I just need to disconnect and maybe not do anything related to anything and just kind of sit with myself, do things I enjoy,
Mhm,
watch things I love, and after those couple days, get back up and let's get back in there. But sometimes you need that. You just need to
mhm.
to take care of yourself.
Reset,
Yeah.
reboot. That being said, Father's Day is coming up. What is
Yeah.
your ideal Father's Day? What do you wanna do?
Ugh. I think what I'm planning on doing, which is spending time with my family and daughter and going out to eat. And it's funny because just spending time with her in general, I think is the best way to spend it. But on the flip side of that, I think about my birthday next year and how she'll be like a year and a half and already
Old
planning
enough for
like,
Disney?
but no, I was like, because the Superman movie came out last year and Supergirl was this year. And my cake normally has a theme. And
Mhm.
I was very tempted to have a Superman, Supergirl theme. I was like, no, 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 no. It's got to be in 2027 because the next Superman movie with Supergirl in it will be out and Kara will be old enough to wear a little costume. So
Yeah.
that's my plan for her. But yeah, Father's Day, I think is just going to be really nice to spend my first Father's Day as a dad and with her and kind of take that in because it feels strange now.
It's weird. It's really weird. It's a strange feeling, but it's a beautiful feeling. It'll feel normal after a while. I'll let you know when. It still hasn't, but that's probably
Eventually it'll hit.
eventually it'll feel normal when people say Happy Mother's Day. Someone said it to me once, and I go, "You too," and they didn't have you didn't have kids, and I was like and it wasn't until I walked away like, "No, what did I say?" Like,
Yep.
autopilot doesn't always work,
God.
does it?
No.
It's like AI. All right. So I have a question
Okay.
from someone else super duper proud of you and someone who loves you very, very much. And it's, someone I love very, very much. So my little sister, Mev,
Ne-
the younger sister Matt never asked for,
but wanted.
but he got anyway. Even if he didn't want it, he got her. And the three of us have such a dynamic, but
Mev
we
and
have great
I
times together.
usually act up when we're together around Aida, who's
Oh,
like the
yeah.
big sister.
You want to talk about how you guys bully me or you don't
We don't
no, no,
bully. We
that's
just, we joke around a lot more.
oh, you joke around a lot more. I love how
Yeah.
polite you're being when talking about this, really underselling it. All right. Well, this is a question actually I wanted to ask you, but she, got it first. How do you choose your guests? And when you think about having them on your show, like what is it that you see in them that they'll bring to that'll fulfill your vision for the show?
It's a good question. It's a mix. I think there is a group of people who have been part of projects, movies, shows, musicals that I love that I'm already aware of and know their work and know a little bit about them. And so I really would like to have them on and understand them more and get to know them and spotlight them. And then I think there's a lot of people who I have found through their connections with guests I've had or with other people that I follow and admire or pop up on my feed because I'm following so many entertainers and performers. And I'll kind of do like a little research and look at what they're up to. I'll take a look at where their heart is, their perspective on the world, where their passions lie. If it seems like they're really loving what they're doing and that really for me is everything. Like, are you loving the space that you're in,
Well, mhm.
even when it's hard? And do you seem like the kind of person who wants to inspire and is inspiring others and is someone who was initially inspired and that's why you got into that space? And I have been very, very, very fortunate that each and every single one of my 49 guests have been lovely people with beautiful perspectives on life and ideas of the world. And that always scares me that that won't be the case. I try to do my due diligence and that hope that the connection is good and it has been. So I've been very blessed with that. But that's normally how I go about it. And I do a lot of research. And when I reach out to them and they say yes, so then we start the episode, I think many times they're surprised by how much research I've done or that I've actually like watched some of their work like in full. And I know not every interviewer does that. But to me, it's important to do that.
Yeah, I think that you have to do your homework. I think that if you don't, it kinda leaves you a little bit unprepared, and it kind of sets you up for making the guests kind of feel almost like not worth digging into, prior to that. So I think that, again, like, it speaks to your ability to know what's right and what will work and what will get you the appreciation and the participation that you want, you desire.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we're going to slowly start wrapping up. But before we do that, Matthew, why,
Mhm.
why, why the podcast? Why the pursuit of magic? And what does that mean when you're pursuing magic through this, avenue? And what does it do for you?
I think it stems back to what the podcast was originally going to be, which was a rewatch podcast for the show The Magicians.
Mm-hmm.
And this was starting somewhere in the pandemic, this idea, and when I first recorded a couple of episodes. And the main idea behind that show, which is basically Harry Potter in college and very gritty and more adult and real world mixed with fantasy. But the main message behind it was magic doesn't come from talent, it comes from pain. And I think that's a lesson and mantra that I've always believed, even if I've never put it into words. And I've always believed that it's twofold that pain you go through can be a very powerful magic for either good or bad. And it's up to you to decide what to do with it. And I've definitely been at crossroads in my life where it could have been a choice to let that make me a worse person
Mm-hmm.
and be bad. And I've seen it happen to others. And I think even in the times when I felt like giving up or didn't know what to do or just wasn't moving at all, I couldn't make that choice. I couldn't go down that road. And what was once a feeling of believing I was on this earth just to help other people has grown into something more than that, where I wanted to create a space where I can use what I've gone through to help other people not feel that way and to understand that they are A, understood, B, the world is a lot bigger and more beautiful than they think, and C, there are so many other people out there who think like them and feel like them and have hearts like them. And go find them, go create with them, create your own magic and bring them to you. And I hope that's what people do. And I hope that the guests I have on who inspire me every time I have them on inspire the listeners and the people watching to do the same. Because if I can give back just an ounce of the magic to even one person that has kept me going in my hardest times, then I've done something right.
Yeah. And I think that you just led right into like the next and the normal wrap up questions, which are like how you hope to create magic for others. And I think you've basically answered that in saying giving back what was given to you, which elaborate. Go ahead. Tell us more. Tell us more. Where do you find the magic in the world and how do you hope to keep creating it for others?
I've learned to find it in everything. I mentioned seeing it in storytelling, whatever form that is, but also human connection. And I've found that if you surround yourself with the right people and are vulnerable and your most sincere self, it will be returned to you tenfold. Like beautiful things will happen that you never imagined would happen because you were you and you
Mhm.
were around the right people. And I also think it happens in the smallest of things. I'm a big believer in manifesting things. I don't necessarily believe in the idea of luck or lucky pennies or things like that. And yet I believe in the belief of luck. And for me, that is huge. And it's funny because I have this habit that I have that I picked up from a really old Hilary Duff movie where she would see a penny on the ground, and if it was face up, she would pick it up and believe it was lucky and believe good things would happen. If it was face down, she would flip it over and leave it for the next person because she believes in creating luck for others. And I've been doing that for a couple of decades now. And I think that belief is part of what put the right vibes out there and put me in the right headspace to make things happen. Even when I realize or don't realize that I'm the one making it happen. But it has given me the confidence, I guess, and the faith to believe that there are good things out there that will happen. And I've gone from not knowing what's around the corner to being so excited to what could be around the corner. And I think that's where the magic is in having faith in what could be. And I've said the quote a lot before, but in the movie Tomorrowland with George Clooney, there is a scene where this little girl is looking at the planetarium and she's thinking about what's out there in outer space and she wants to go out there and explore. And her parents are like, well, what if there's nothing out there? And she says, well, what if everything is out there? And I try my hardest to live by that because I believe that the world is a lot more beautiful and strange and complex and wonderful than we're often led to believe through pain and loss and the news. And we have to remind ourselves of that.
Yeah, I feel like that's important because there's so much happening in the world. I mean, there's always so much happening in the world, but I feel like you can't avoid it. So finding the small moments or just the regular moments, but especially the small moments because I feel like they help us make it to the big moments.
True.
And, I'm going to go personally. Let's go Knicks, right? I've been a Knicks fan my whole life. And not this year. Not this year. Definitely not this year. Maybe this year. No, not this year. This year? This year? Oof, so close. This year? They did it. And it's that magic, that's magic. And it's something that brought so many people together. Like I could cry because it brought an entire group of people together, not just New
Yeah.
Yorkers. It's literally the entire United States. I'm telling you, banded
Yeah.
together for the Knicks, and they've been through so much, and there's been so much heartbreak as a fan, so much heartbreak, and you never give up. A real fan doesn't give up, and we're not fans, right? Real fans aren't fans, they are Knicks. Being a Knick, you're a Knick. You're a New York Knick. You're a New Yorker, you're a New York Knick, and that magic was so wonderful, and the little magic leading up to there and watching that growth, it gives us hope in the moments where it makes the news look brighter
Yeah.
these days, you know? And it makes the city feel alive and there's camaraderie and I mean, let's not talk about the foolery that's happening in the city.
Yeah.
That's not a part of it. We're not with them. We don't sit with them. You know what I mean? That's not us. But yeah, finding things that bring you joy. It's basketball. It's people that I've never met before and probably will never meet, but bring people joy, bring me joy, my husband, my daughter even. She's like, "Mommy's a Knicks on?" I'm like, "No, we won, mama. It's over. We won this year." And it's just sharing and things like that and learning how to find those things in life that bring you just joy. Well, or heartbreak, but on another level,
Yeah.
and movies, shows, story writing, storytelling. I think that being a teacher, I see so many kids and watch them choose how they express themselves, and it's just really wonderful. And I'm glad that we're in a day and age where there's things like podcasts that exist that give you the platform to share your thoughts and your ideas and your experiences and bring people together and talk about things that matter and talk about things that bring people joy and that show people magic and people that are involved in that. You're giving them the space to have more of a voice, an unscripted voice. And I think that's great. I think what you're doing is really tremendous work. I think journalism, interviewing, I think is an art within itself. I think that, across the board, it's something that brings people what they want. News, entertainment, controversy, drama. things to explore, things to think about and push people. So thank you for sharing your magic with the world. Thank you for letting me come here and pull more magic out of you, and ask you
Yes.
questions, even though I was like fidgeting the whole time. I'm not as good as it as
You were
you.
great.
Not as good as it is you, but thank you. Thank you for having me. Congratulations on
Thank
episodes. I probably should have started off with that,
you.
but I think we built up to it, and I love what you're building. Keep going, keep doing it. You're doing a wonderful job and you should be proud of yourself. So thank you for having me and thank you for being open and vulnerable to sharing your thoughts and ideas.
So, well, thank you for being such a good host and for coming back on. I'm always excited to have you on. And I couldn't think of anyone better to interview me and for me to be vulnerable with. So, thank you for the amazing questions and for celebrating 50 episodes with me. And it's so strange that I'm going to be the one to say this because I've been having my guests say this from now on. But I actually think you should say it because I don't think I had you say it on your episode. So you should just say your name and tell everyone listening to go out there and do some magic.
I am Aida. Go out there and do some magic. I do look like the little Disney ding 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 ding
Yeah,
ding.
exactly. Bye, everybody.